Yo, yo, yo. Coming to you live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, aka Title Town, USA. Yes, yes, yes. Coming to you live on this dreary but warm Saturday morning, a couple hours early because have some things to do later on this afternoon when we would normally have the podcast. So it's coming on a couple hours later. Uh, right now I'm riding out solo for a little bit. Trey should be on his way for you Trey fans. He's back. Matt's coming in. Dre should be in. Troy should be returning, and I do believe that we will have maybe a returning Amina to defend her Warriors. But until then, rocking out solo. So, as we always start this show for you first time listeners, second time listeners, we start this show with our crossover hot takes. Now, those are, for those of you that watch the show, this is where we dip in and lean in into some topics that does not necessarily have to do with sports, but are most likely sports focused, depending on what is going on this week. So we have three questions, all have to do with sports or sports related. So we will get right into it. So 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 yeah the first question: will the NFL be able to create a policy around the national anthem that does not alienate somebody? All right. So for those of you that don't know, rumors have been flying that this week coming up is another, I think, owners meeting in the NFL, and that owners meeting is going to have a lot to do. Rumor has it, ESPN is reporting that a lot to do with trying to make a policy around these national anthem protests. Now, for those of you that don't know, you've been living under a rock. Maybe you've been boycotting the NFL, so you don't know. There have been player protests over the season around the national anthem and around Colin Kaepernick's uh, not being allowed to play this year, or not being allowed, but just not being signed to a team, not being allowed, depending on how you feel. Uh, and a lot of it has to do with, a lot of politics around the NFL. We've had some different things where these protests have come to light during the year, whether it was President Trump calling the players SOBs, or any number of things. These protests have come to light, and so now the NFL is trying to alleviate the situation a little bit. Now, last week we talked about how the NFL is kind of kicking the bucket, kicking it down to the teams. This week, the NFL is trying to do something else outside of that by trying to have a policy around it. And how I feel about that is I feel like this. I mean, I don't think the NFL will be able to make a policy around this without alienating somebody. Now, I was just talking about this with a mentor off air before we got on air about the policies around this. So how are you going to enforce these policies? So are you going to suspend people, suspend them for the season? Because for those of you that don't know, the only league that has a policy around the national anthem is the NBA. The NBA says that all players must stand for the national anthem or they'll be suspended. And the NBA has actually followed through. Not this commissioner, but David Stern did follow through and suspend a player for not standing for the national anthem. And I believe his name was Abdul Raif. He played for the former Vancouver, now Memphis Grizzlies. He was not allowed to play in the NBA because of his stance on the national anthem. Now, this is what I say about that for the NFL. The NFL will not be able to make a policy without it being looked at as infringing upon the rights of the players to free speech, unless they create a policy that says that everybody stays in for the national anthem, and they keep it back to what it was, where everybody stays in for the national anthem. Now, if that's the case, then that can work. But if they're not doing that, because I know they like the contracts for the DoD, so if they're not doing that, then they're definitely going to alienate somebody. Because if you're either saying that players can't kneel, players must stand, you're infringing upon somebody's freedom of speech. You're stopping protests, which is the basis of and the foundation of this country. It's a lot of things that go into this. And some people will say, well, Kyler, they're affecting the bottom line, so they have to be stopped. But why though? Why are we? You know, I kind of find this ironic. We're so the country is so pro protest, pro freedom of speech until it starts affecting somebody's bottom line. Once it starts affecting somebody's bottom line, then we're willing to put the kibosh on protests. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think that they will be able to make a policy that's not going to alienate somebody, because if they don't make a policy, then they'll continue to be fodder for, and election season's coming up, midterm elections are coming up, so the NFL will continue to be fodder for these Republicans and extreme conservatives that want to, and liberals too, who will say, like, if they do enforce a policy, will say that they're infringing upon the rights of the NFL. So the NFL can't. So the NFL is in a lose-lose situation. Whatever they do, it'll be held in contempt on one side of the political spectrum. If they say, you know what, we're not going to do anything, some people are going to say, oh, look at them, the NFL, they're so scared of the left. Oh, they're so scared. Gone are the days when people stood up for their country. The NFL's not patriots. You're going to hear stuff like that. Or if they do come up with something, you'll hear this on the left. You'll hear this. Oh, look at them. They're infringing upon the rights of these players. Blase, blase, blase. Down with the NFL. They're standing with Trump. You'll hear something like that, right? And, you know, it's just mind-boggling that the NFL is in this position, because they can't handle protests well. I don't understand how the NFL can't handle protests well, but they can't. And so if I'm the NFL, what I would do is I would stand on what we said last week, which was we're gonna kick the can down to the teams and put the teams in that position. We as the NFL, we're not going to infringe upon people's First Amendment rights. We respect the First Amendment. Again, giving the NFL free PR. Hire me, Roger Goodell. We're not going to do all that. We're going to let the teams decide and keep it within an organizational conversation. That's what we're going to do. Now that can work, but if that doesn't work, then, you know, like I said, they're going to lose. They're going to be held in contempt on one side of the aisle. So moving right along. So the Philadelphia Eagles, you know, they're the Super Bowl champs. The Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles have finally gotten their visit scheduled to the White House, and that is they're going to go on June 5th, 2018, to see President Trump and do the whole pomp and circumstance and everything else, and and so the question is our reaction to that. My reaction to it is, you know what? The Eagles won their first Super Bowl championship, and I think they should go to the White House, take the photo op, whether they agree or disagree. I know some players are going. Like, I know Malcolm Jenkins isn't going. I know Chris Long isn't going. I don't think LeGarrette Blount is going to go. He didn't go last year. So we're just going to stick to the former Patriots that won the Super Bowl, won it again. So LeGarrette Blount, I know, is not going. Chris Long isn't going. Malcolm Jenkins isn't going. Brandon Graham isn't going. And some of these are not for political reasons. Brandon Graham isn't going because he said he wants to just enjoy it and get a ring. His is not for political reasons. But LeGarrette Blunt, Chris Long, and Malcolm Jenkins, they are for political reasons. And I think that's about it so far that we know of. So my reaction to the Eagles visiting the White House is, I think it's an exciting opportunity. It's exciting for the city. I think that they definitely should go and represent the city. It's just any team that goes to the White House is not to form some policy and form some change. It's just a photo op. That's what it is. Conversations, talk, and some photo ops. That's all it is. So we're not going to try and make this more than what it is. When any team visits the White House, it's just a photo op. They hand the president or whatever political party, they hand the president the commemorative jersey, let him touch the championship, blase, and keep it moving. That's essentially what it is. So I definitely think the Eagles players should go, whether they agree or disagree with the president. I definitely think they should go. Just take the photo op, get into the White House, because like I said, it's an opportunity that most people don't get. So definitely go to the White House, whether you agree or disagree. Like I said, but I totally get it. Chris Long, LeGarrette Blunt, Malcolm Jenkins, standing for your rights. Do you? I definitely don't agree with the president a lot either. But for the rest of the Eagles, I think they definitely should go and just take the photo op, do what they need to do, talk to the man, get some conversation going, whatever. But, like I said, when most of these teams go to the White House, they're going for a photo, they're going for a picture. It's nothing more than that. Now, the Golden State Warriors didn't go at all because they just totally didn't agree with everything President Trump is doing. But the Eagles are going to go. And I'm happy for them, Like I said, just take it in, enjoy everything that comes with winning a championship, So moving right along, another Eagles topic. Do you love or hate Lane Johnson trash talking the Patriots? All right, so for those of you that don't know, earlier in the week, and since the Eagles won the Super Bowl title, Lane Johnson has been trash talking the Patriots. He talked about how the Patriot way doesn't work. Nobody likes the Patriot way. It's not fun to be a New England Patriot. And so he's continued that over this week. He went on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, talked about how the New England Patriots were talking crap, how Bill Belichick was talking crap to Doug Peterson, how allegedly, because none of us know, we weren't there, what's the oldest name? Bob Kraft was trash talking Jeff Lurie. How Tom Brady was trash talking. Everybody on the Patriots was trash talking the Eagles. And you know what? I like it. I like a trash talker. I really do. I love a good trash talker, especially when you win a championship. Now, if the Eagles had won the Super Bowl, I'd say, sit down, Lane Johnson. Even though he's one of my favorite Eagles, I'd tell him to sit down. But since we won, talk your stuff, Lane Johnson. Talk your trash. Speak your truth. Talk all you want, Lane, because you won the title. We won you and the rest of the Eagles brought a title to this city, the first Super Bowl in franchise history. Talk your stuff, Lane. Do it, because obviously it's true, because you see a lot of Patriot players are leaving. They're doing different things. Different things are happening. The Patriots are falling apart. The Eagles might just have killed the Patriots dynasty. And it's amazing to see everybody just come out against Lane Johnson. And Sarah Spain made a salient point on ESPN the other day. She said, listen, they won the title. The Eagles have the right to talk trash. So Lane Johnson, talk your stuff. As long as you got that ring, talk your stuff, man. Talk your stuff. Speak your truth. Do you, man. That's how I feel. Do you. Talk your trash. Because, this is what happens. A lot of people don't like when people trash talk. But you know what? Just talk your truth, man. Speak your truth. If that's the case, if that's how Lane Johnson feels, shoot, talk your stuff. Go on whatever podcast you want. Create your own podcast. Heck, throw in a point in here. Come on this podcast and talk your stuff. I will be more than happy to let you talk your trash. Lane Johnson, because I respect the man that goes in and backs up the trash talk. And he definitely did. He went in there, he talked his stuff, and he backed up his trash talk. He really did. He really did. He backed up his trash talk. He went in there, did what he had to do. Didn't allow too many sacks on Nick Foles. Was, like I said, one more strike away from getting out the NFL. But Lane Johnson persevered, was a mainstay on our offensive line, and got the Eagles. It was one part of the cog that got the Eagles to a Super Bowl championship. So Lane Johnson, you talk your stuff as much as you please. Do it, my brother. Keep it going. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, y'all. So this is another one. Totally forgot. You know how we like to talk current events here. So I'm just gonna add a Colin curveball in here, and I can do that because I'm the only one in here right now. So here we are yet again on the. It's getting ready to be summer, but we're talking yet again about a school shooting. Now, for those of you that don't know, yesterday in Santa Fe, Texas, there was a 17-year-old shooter whose name will not be mentioned. He went in, shot up his school with a shotgun and a .38 revolver, killed 9 students and 1 teacher, and injured 10 more. Yet again, here we are. Now, this is a little bit different than what we're used to. His guns were bought legally by his father. He's 17, so obviously he couldn't buy a gun. And he got the guns from his dad. He wore a trench coat. It seems like he was inspired by a lot of different school shootings. The Columbine shooting, because he wore a trench coat. Many of the students said that the trench coat was his favorite thing to wear, no matter how hot it got. So he wore a trench coat. The fire alarm was pulled. Parkland, that's what happened. Those of you will remember that's what happened in Parkland. The fire alarm was pulled, and that's how the previous guy got his victims. And it's just terrible, man. It's like we can't even protect our children. Every time we talk about this, we say never again. Never again. We're going to do something to stop it. And I thought we were close at Parkland. I thought we were close. President Trump was giving me some hope. He was meeting with the students and everything. And he was saying that I'm going to try and make change. I'm going to raise the he was doing the bare minimum, but at least he was trying to do something. He wanted to, and a lot of times we deride him on this. Well, we don't really deride him. We don't really talk about him that much, anymore. But a lot of times we make fun of him. We talk about the stupidness that he does, and I want to be fair, and I want to give him credit where it's due. He actually met with these kids and their parents. Now, a lot of them were, some people say, parents that were friendly to him, voted for him. Maybe I don't know how they chose it. I'm not going to get into that, but he was going to raise the age to 21, was going to ban bump stocks and everything, but nothing came of it. And for me, this is why I don't really like that. I want people to make some action. To be honest with you, I think that if you're not doing anything that promotes action, if we're not seeing a change, then what are you doing? And so I'm sick of these politicians, Democrats, Republicans, independents talking about it. I want you to be about it. Like Nike said, just do it. Start enacting some policy, man. Start doing something to stop these people from getting guns. Now, like I said, this is a little bit different because these were legal guns brought by his father. So this is a little bit different than the illegal guns that happen at most school shootings. It's a little bit different. But, we got to do something. Parents, start locking up your guns, especially if your children aren't all there in the head. Start knocking. That's a nice way of saying it. Start locking up your guns. Start doing something different. Start locking up your guns. Start getting your kids the help that they need. Take them to counselors. Take them somewhere. Get your kids the help they need. And we need to do something about these schools. Like a lot of times it happens in public schools and everything, but we need to do something about this because it's being ridiculous that it seems like every month we're having a school shooting. This is the 22nd school shooting, and we're only on the 5th month of 2018. We still have 7 months to go in this year, and it's ridiculous what we're going through at this point in this country. And this younger generation is really going to start holding these politicians accountable. This is the generation under me. So I'm a millennial, but this is the generation under me. My generation, the generation under me, we're going to be holding these people accountable. But I refuse to continue to allow this to happen, continue to accept that in this country, we're the only country where this stuff happens at, where it's so easy to get a gun. You know, it's like buying water. It's so easy to get a gun. You know, we need to do something to stop that. You know, like I said, with this one, it's a little bit different because this is, oh, what's up, Trey? This guy, like I said, was 17, got his guns, his dad brought these guns legally, but the loss of life is just, when you hear about some of these kids and you heard some of the testimony from some of these kids about how this guy was a loner, how he always kept to himself, you just hear different things about this guy. And it's just vast, the difference, you know, and I just really can't anymore with this. I'm tired of having to watch CNN, having to watch the local news. Can't even get your local news because when these mass shootings happen and this mass loss of life, it's just ridiculous. And like I said, it's a little bit different because his guns were brought legally by his dad. But the most basic thing all you parents can do that are gun owners, lock your guns up. Don't let your kids know whatever your code is to your gun locker, gun safe, whatever you have, gun shed, whatever you have. Please keep your guns. Do something to keep everybody safe. Keep your guns away from your kids. Get your kids the help they need, especially if you know they're not all there mentally and everything else. Just get your kids the help that they need. Because, like I said, this is the 22nd school shooting of 2018, and it's probably going to keep happening. I hate saying that, but let's be real, because there's so much inaction on the political front. It's just ridiculous. At this point, I'm ready to vote anybody out until somebody does something to get to stop this from happening. Yeah, so that's my diatribe on it. All right, Trey, what's up? You know, you can answer the questions, the ones that I've gone through. I mean, you can talk about your reaction to the school shooting as well. But yeah, we could go back. You can answer the question. So, do you think the NFL will be able to create a policy around the national anthem that does not alienate somebody? Oh, and also reintroduce yourself. Go ahead, Trey. And there he goes. I don't know what happened to Trey, but oh, there he is. Trey.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Well, first of all, this is what two weeks in a row now I'm back on the podcast again, I think, or did I miss last week? I don't know. I gotta get better with my schedule. But as far as the NFL and creating a policy as far as the national anthem goes, I mean, we've talked about it before. Like, the national anthem is not like not a mandatory thing. You can't make somebody stand for the national anthem. And I think, like, I mean, they can create policies that won't, you know, to try and fix problems of people being alienated for whatever reason. Like, I mean, because, and we talked about it. I mean, that was one of the first things we ever talked about on the podcast, or like our first couple episodes, was that, you know, in the thought process of Colin Kaepernick, was that, you know, why am I standing for a flag? And it really didn't have much to do with the national anthem. It was really, why am I standing for a flag and pledging allegiance to a country that, you know, can't see that there's major issues when it comes to police brutality, in particular against minorities. So what the NFL needs to do is, and it's not it's not an overnight thing. This is going to take years, because the view of the national anthem and the view of the flag for a lot of people is not going to change, and so like it's going to take a long period of time. I mean, I don't know what kind of policies you can put in place, but once they do put whatever policies they put in place, it's going to take a long time. It's going to be a process where people's mindset begins to change, where you say, because to me, I mean, it was always weird, like in like middle school, like standing up and pledging allegiance to the flag, like, and it didn't mean anything to me. I didn't like, I just did it because, you know, they played it over, you know, everybody said it in the morning during morning announcements or whatever. Like that was it. Like it didn't mean anything to me. But if people if the NFL can make it clear, I mean, I don't know if they'll do this or not, but somehow put it out there or get one of their journalists or something, you know, to like make it clear that it's just a flag and it's just a national anthem, then I think we can start that process. But it's going to be a long time before we get to a point where people aren't getting ostracized for doing what Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and other people have done.
All right, Trey. So I've answered most of these. So your reaction to the Eagles visiting the White House on June 5th? Got a reaction to that?
Well, as far as I know, they haven't confirmed that. There haven't been any confirmed yeses, like to people that will be going. We know that there are a plethora of people who will not be going. And I'm not. I mean, I think it's just like, you know, just general courtesy. Like, you won the Super Bowl, so we're inviting you to the White House. I think the whole thing last year with the Warriors, Trump was just being extremely petty with, you know, when he was like, well, you're not invited, that whole you're not invited anyway thing. That was just pettiness. You know, and I think there's like the idea of not visiting the White House. On one hand, like, I can see why you wouldn't, and I can see why, even if you disagreed, you know, you're not necessarily a Trump supporter, I can see why you would go. I mean, to me, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I think people make a big deal about going to the White House. I mean, if there's a president of the White House that you like for example with Obama, and like you think it would be cool to meet him, then great, go to the White House. Like, it's not like the NFL or in any sport, the government is running these sports. Like, and so like going to the White House or not going to the White House would be like it's not like the government is running you know, the NFL or the NBA. So like refusing or you know, declining an invitation to the White House is not that big of a deal. Like all they're doing is like, it's just a courtesy that the White House does to congratulate, you know, professional sports champions. So like, it really is not that big of a deal to say I don't want to go. I think what people are taking issue with is, and I don't see why, is a lot of people disagree with a lot of things that are going on in the White House. Not just Trump, it's also his cabinet and Congress. And so they're like, I'd rather not go to the White House. Like, I don't necessarily support a lot of what's going on in the White House. So I mean, and it's just an invitation to be thanked for winning a championship when the government has nothing to do with what we, you know, the accomplishments we had. So whether any of the players on the Eagles go to the White House or not, I don't think it really means anything. I've never even I've never understood it in the first place. Like, I didn't realize that championship teams go to the White House until maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I think it was maybe like the UConn women's basketball team went after they had won the championship, and I was like, what are they doing at the White House? And then I learned about it, and I was like, the heck, why? Like, who cares about going to the White House? Unless, of course, unless of course, like with Obama, like let's say the Bears won the championship. I mean, I think it would be, I think it might have been a good idea to go to the White House just because President Obama was a Chicago, he was a Chicago fan. So, but it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. And whoever goes or doesn't go, like that's their choice to make. It's not. It's an invitation, meaning you have the choice to say yes, I'm coming, or no, I'm not coming. And people are being ostracizing groups of people who decide not to come when it's their right to choose whether or not they come because it's an invitation. It's not like it's a court summons or a subpoena or something like that, and their government saying you have to come to the White House. It's their decision, and if they want, that's their decision to make.
All right, Trey. 'Cause I've already talked about this. Do you love or hate Lane Johnson still trash talking the Patriots?
I mean, I like it. Like it. It hasn't even been a year yet. It's been what? February, January, March, April, May. So what? 4 months? Almost 5 months. And I mean, from what I read, he was pointing out that not only were the players involved in the trash talking, but Kraft and some of the coaches were involved in the trash talking. And so, I mean, I like, and I liked it last year, and a lot of people talked about it, is that the Eagles kind of came off as a nasty team. Like, the way they played with, like, you didn't want to, it was nasty the way they came off. They weren't, like, it wasn't a lot of finesse like we had in the past on defense. Like, I mean, as much as I liked Asante Samuel wasn't a get-in-your-face type of guy. He was a finesse corner, right? And the team as a whole last year really took on, and it culminated in winning a championship. And then you saw what the locker room was like when Jason Kelce, made that speech at the parade. And although at this point I don't think they're underdogs anymore because, they won the championship, they're still keeping that same mentality. And so, and that mentality of being an underdog means, it's like, but we are champions now, and so we're gonna play like it. But I just like the nastiness that the team now has, like, because it gives them an edge, and like it from a competitor's standpoint. When you play against somebody who's got an edge, they got a chip on their shoulder, and they're talking a lot. And I'm not talking about like what Odell Beckham does, or even like what Lance Stevenson did to LeBron James, 4 or 5 years ago, like that type of stuff. I'm just talking about pure, clean trash talk, to get in somebody's head. Like because that's how you win, really. Like you can't be weak-minded, especially in professional football. So, some people are like, it's overboard, but I think that's the persona of the team now, is kind of an edgy, like, nastiness to the, especially the offensive line. So, I'm totally fine with it. I kind of chuckled when I realized that, you had trash talking not only coming from players on both sides, but from Lane Johnson, what he's saying, you had trash talking coming from coaches on the Patriots side.
I said my piece on this already, but let me add to what Trey's saying. I think what a lot of people don't realize is the history that goes into this with Philly versus Boston. It's very competitive. It gets very petty, especially because this Eagles team was, like I've said on this podcast before, and I think Trey has even said it. This Eagles team was the redeemed team for us. You know, it was only fitting that this victory came at the expense of the Patriots because the last time the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl, they lost to the Patriots. So it was only fitting that the Eagles got to beat the Patriots, add more mystique to the Philly versus Boston rivalry. You even saw this a little bit when the 76ers played the Celtics. It was just the rivalry is back on. It's heated again because of what the Eagles did. I mean, let's be real. The 76ers Celtics rivalry has always been on, but it's just a small piece of the larger rivalry pizza that is Philly versus Boston. Like this, it is what it is. Like it's Philly versus Boston, Philly versus New York, New York versus Philly, New York versus Boston. See, a lot of people that don't live on the East Coast, they don't get it, right? So I see a lot of people on ESPN talk about how the Eagles are a one-hit wonder, a flash in the pan, you know, whatever. Do what you need to do, Lane Johnson. Like I said, we won, or y'all won. You brought the city to the championship, and you brought championship to the city. And talk your stuff until the next Super Bowl champion in this crowd, which will hopefully be the Philadelphia Eagles again. And talk your stuff until then. Keep talking your stuff. If you gotta go, like I said, I don't know. The invitation's open. I don't know if any Eagles players listen to this podcast. I hope so. But if anybody know Lane Johnson, he's got an open invitation to come on this show Saturdays at 1:00 or 11, depending on our schedules, and come on here and talk his stuff to speak his truth. Because when you win, I'm all for, like I said before Trey got here, I'm all for people trash talking after they win. What I'm not for is people trash talking and you lose it. But if you're a trash talker and you win, boy, talk your stuff. Like Trey just said, they took on the persona of the city. This city is blue collar, it's hardworking, it's in your face. So listen, I'm all for it, man. Do what you got to do, you know. And moving right along. Trey, you weren't here last week, but we talked about This Is America. Did you see that video yet? You got an opinion on it? Your reaction to that?
Yes, I have actually. And I think the song is actually like I'll talk about it from three sides. So first of all, the song, like the actual music, and then some of the backlash that Donald Glover is receiving. So first of all, the music. It's actually a really good song. Like, if you listen to some of the lyrics, it's like he's really making a great point. But the music itself is like it's got a good flow. Like the music video, and it's one of those songs where you have to watch the music video and listen to the song. You can't just listen to it, on the radio because you won't get the full effect of what he was trying to do. And there's a lot of imagery as far as the message goes. Like there's a little part where in the background, there's a lot as the music video progresses and the song gets towards the end, the chaos in the background of the dancing that Childish Gambino and everybody else is doing gets worse and worse. It gets progressively more chaotic. And there's one part where in the background while these kids are they're dancing and stuff, there's an imagery of death on a horse, and there's a police car like tailing behind this horse. And it was really like it's stuff like that in the music video that I think he really portrayed a strong message, and some people weren't ready for it, but that's beyond the point. And then at the end, you see Childish Gambino running from somebody. Like the whole screen is blacked out. You can tell there's somebody chasing him, and he's the makeup he's wearing makes him kind of look like what. I mean, it's almost like blackface. Like you go back to Birth of a Nation and some of these older depictions of what Black people looked like, and he was kind of showing you how a lot of Black people are living. Like that's the life that they live. Like, that they're always on the run. But that's the music and the message. The other thing is that Donald Glover, although for the most part a lot of people like him as he seems like a great guy. He's really talented, really talented. I mean, multi-talented guy, great actor. He can sing, he can rap. He's also a really good actor. I think I said that already. He's a good actor, but he's also a very good writer. Like he's done, he's got it. He's a producer and he's a writer for Atlanta. He also did some writing back in the day for I can't think of the name of the TV show, but a comedy TV show a while back. But the backlash he's receiving is that and I haven't really done my research on this, but apparently Donald Glover hasn't necessarily had the greatest opinion of black women, and I don't know how true all of this is, but he received a lot of backlash, and I'm like, so now y'all want to just bring this up now that he's now that he's so like, and they had the whole thing about him not dating a black girl, and I'm like, so because he's black and he's so-called woke and he's a nerd, a so-called what we call blurred, he he has to date a black girl? No, like it does that. I mean, but I mean there was a lot in that music video, and there was a lot behind everything that was going on. So I mean, I enjoyed it, and I think he got the message. He did his job, or he did what he was intending to do, and he got the message across. And it's a very heavy message. So if you're not ready for it when you watch that music video, it might catch you off guard. But he did a good job with what with not only the music itself and the lyrics, but also the imagery in the music video, and how, like I said, as the music video progresses, and he's really making a point about literally it's the title of the song is what the message is. This is America. There's people dancing and looking at their phone and all this stuff. And meanwhile, there's chaos around us. But because we're so inundated with social media and we're so inundated with, the newest dance stuff, things like that, we totally miss, all the evil and chaos that's going on around us, like people getting shot up in the church, police brutality, gun violence, and it's like I said, it's a heavy topic, but he, in a span of 3 minutes, really hit home with the message. And this is not the first time Donald Glover has been able to do it. I mean, if you've ever watched Atlanta, season 1 and I believe season 2 is now complete. But in both season 1 and season 2, he's done a great job of kind of encompassing what life as an Atlanta rapper is, but he also deals with other issues, raising a child, but, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I mean, that's really my opinion on This Is America. Like, it's a really good song, great message, and it was really well done, not only musically and lyrically, but also the way he displayed the message visually in the music video.
And then we can wrap. Then we can go on to our regular topics. But did you hear about the school shooting yesterday? That's where you came in at. You heard me talk about that one. Did you you want to talk about that as well, or you just want to move on?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, I had a late night last night, so I didn't I honestly didn't read much about it. But I mean, it just goes to show. I mean, we keep having these school shootings, like people, and whether it's 0.0009% of gun violence or mass shootings, or whether it's 95%, they're still happening. And we've had now, I think, 4 or 5 school shootings. I'm emphasizing school shootings where kids are going to school, right? Like, that should not be happening. And is it a gun issue? Is it a heart issue? Like some people want to say. The issue is that we don't need all these guns, and people like it's not about infringing on people's rights. It really is not. It's about making it's about making, and as of right now, it's not even making the United States a safer place. It's just about making students safer. There's no reason why, somebody who, they want to paint a lot of times when these shootings happen, afterwards the person is painted as crazy, right? They had mental issues. Yet the person was able to get a gun, whether they bought it and they legally, whether they legally or illegally got it, they were able to get a gun. So, and people are so adamant about, oh, that's my Second Amendment right. We're not talking about taking your Second Amendment right away. I mean, and there's a lot of different interpretations of the Second Amendment, but we'll go with the most popular opinion. We're not talking about taking away your right to own a firearm. We're talking about taking away guns from people who don't and should not ever have a gun in their hand. People who have mental issues and are completely unstable. People who have evil intentions to murder and to kill. Right? I mean, if you're a person who, feels necessary to have a firearm, okay, that's your right to have that, right? But please put it somewhere safe, right? Put it somewhere where a child or someone who or one of your kids cannot get access to it and steal the gun and then go shoot up a school or harm themselves. It really is a shame that, like, we're talking about school shootings and then people are like, no, the issue is it's not a gun issue, it's a heart issue. Okay, maybe it is maybe there is an issue. Maybe it is a heart issue, but it surely is not. It surely is not the people who are shooting up these schools. It's the heart issue is with people, and I'll say it, Republicans, who think that, that they place this Second Amendment right on its pedestal. And it just doesn't make any sense, because they're essentially what they're doing is, and when you want to talk about heart issues, their heart is not in the right place. Their heart is, they've placed a gun, a weapon, something that was created to either kill or seriously injure the target of the target. They've placed that, like, at the pinnacle of their heart, like, and personally, from personal experience, I know Christians who have done this, and I'm like, okay, who who's at where are your priorities at? Aren't you supposed to be a Christian? Like, isn't God supposed to be there and not a gun? So if they want to keep bringing up this whole heart issue, yeah, let's have a conversation about a heart issue. It surely is not my heart, because I mean, I don't care about guns. Okay, I don't hold any alliance to a gun, because it's an inanimate object. But that object is a dangerous weapon, and it should not be in the hands of certain people. And it should be far and few between where you should not go into somebody's house and see a gun case that's not locked up. We shouldn't have situations where where somebody legally or illegally is able to get a gun and then go and shoot up a school. And a lot of people's solution is, hey, let's stop making these places gun-free zones. Let's stop doing this whole gun-free zone thing. And it's like, because they view it as making the place a target. I'm like, how about let's not like let's stop hindering things that could potentially help, and let's start working to fix gun laws, right? And people were like, well, gun laws, and I've done research on this. Gun laws is a lot of times there's a lot of statistics showing that implementing gun law restrictions won't work, or it won't significantly reduce, such and such, violent shooting statistic. And I'm like, but if it saves one life, it's worth it, because a gun is more important than a human life. Or excuse me, I'm sounding like a human life is more important than a gun. So if by restricting your right to own to bear arms, if it saves one life, it's worth it. If it saves one life, it's worth it. I don't care whose life it is, it's worth it, because a human life is worth more than a inanimate object that has no inherent value in and of itself. And why people can't see this? It's a heart issue. You want to talk, like I said, you want to talk about a heart issue. That's a heart issue right there. That people think a gun is more important than saving. I'm not even talking about on a grand scale. I'm talking about saving students' lives. Literally the future, the people who are going to replace who's in government right now. The people who are going to replace, the CEOs of these major companies. We're talking about protecting them so that they can, replace those who are in power now. And y'all are worried about, y'all and people are worried about keeping their right to own a gun. Oh, give me a break, man. It's a hard issue, all right, but it's not the people that you're pointing at. When you point a finger at somebody, there's 3 pointing right back at you, okay, or 4 pointing right back at you. You might need to check your own heart out.
Yeah, what Trey said. All right, so moving right along. All right, Trey. Then we're gonna get into the not controversial stuff. Are the Cavaliers in trouble in this series? As a matter of fact, you done talked. I'll start. Yes, the Cavaliers are in trouble in this series. The reason they're in trouble is because, again, nobody is showing up outside of LeBron James. Like, Trey knows. I wrote an article about this on Game 1. It was called on Game 2. Before Game 2, it was on the Cavs needing to rebound and needing to cut down on the turnovers, play better defense, which we both know what won't happen. And Andre's trying to get in. I'm sure he's going to tell me that I'm wrong and that I should have faith in the Cavaliers, but I just don't. LeBron James had a great game. He did what he was supposed to do. He scored 40-plus points, grabbed a lot of rebounds, and got a bunch of assists. And they still lost. Like, LeBron James had one of his great LeBron James type matchups, and they still lost. If I was to tell you, right, Trey or anybody else, that LeBron James had a triple-double against the Celtics, and in this game, and LeBron James had a triple-double against the Celtics, I think most people would say, oh, the Cavaliers got that game because LeBron James, every time he has a big game, usually the Cavaliers win. But no, they lost. Why is that? Because the Cavaliers don't play defense. This is the worst defensive team in the NBA. And this team is worse than last year's team that went to the finals, because that team's defensive deficiencies was masked by Kyrie Irving. This is what happens to the Cavaliers without Kyrie. This is what happens to the Cavaliers when you don't have a second person to mask the deficiencies of the Cavalier of the team that LeBron James is on. LeBron can't do it by himself. One man cannot beat a whole team. I've said this before. I've said it again. I know LeBron James have proven me wrong, and he's beaten the whole team before, but he needed Kyrie Irving to do it. Now, without Kyrie Irving, he can't do it. I'm just going to be honest. Like, LeBron James is going to need more than Kyle Korver scoring 11 points to beat the Celtics. He's going to need more. And maybe they'll show up tonight against the Celtics because it's their first home game. But I'm telling y'all right now, we're going to get to it in a little bit. But Watson, Cavaliers Twitter, if you want some, come get some. You know, listen, if y'all don't win tonight, y'all getting swept. I'm saying it right now. At 11:57 Eastern time. If the Cavaliers don't win tonight, they're getting swept on Monday. If they don't win, they're getting swept. And LeBron, the Cavaliers are going to have to play great defense. They're going to have to get more than just LeBron James and Kyle Korver showing up. I don't know why anybody is relying on J.R. Smith. How many times does J.R. Smith have to show you that he is the worst streaky shooter in the NBA? I don't even know why anybody gives that man money. I don't understand it. But the bigger point is this. If the Cavaliers don't win tonight, they're getting swept. Go ahead, Trey.
Well, see, okay. Here's my thing. Cleveland's down 2-0. If they were to lose, I think they play tonight, right? Yeah, they play tonight. If they lose tonight, I think they're in trouble. But then again, LeBron James is, he's still LeBron James, and we've seen him, in dire situations, and he's come up big. But that was with Kyrie Irving. And I think they had a better team at that point when they were able to do what they did against the Warriors. So I think they're in trouble, but they're not. I mean, I don't think they're in dire straits right now. But if they were to lose tonight, they're in dire straits at that point, because I think without Kyrie and with this compilation of talent that the Cavs currently have, they're not as good defensively, and they're not good enough, I think, defensively to keep up. They're not good enough defensively, and they're not young enough to keep up with those Celtics. I didn't really pay attention to game 2 at all, but game 1 I watched pretty much all of it, and it was clear that the Celtics were just, for one thing, they're much more young and athletic, and for two, they just have players for days. I mean, they are so deep as a team. When you look at the lineup on the floor, you say, "Oh my goodness, this team is great," and that's without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. So the Cavs will be in dire straits if they lose tonight. If they are able to win, I mean, they put themselves in a much better situation going forward and have a much better chance of winning the series, or at least challenging, not getting swept or losing in 5 games.
All right, so I gotta answer this question: will LeBron James be enough to beat the Celtics? Let me just rehash this. No, like I said, not without Kyrie Irving, not without anything. Like I'm gonna be honest. If this team gets to the finals, this will be the worst team that LeBron James has taken to the finals since he took Delonte West and them to the finals against the Spurs. This is not gonna happen. LeBron James is not enough to beat this version of the Celtics. The Celtics have flat out outplayed. Brad Stevens has outcoached. Basically, the Celtics have outsmarted the Cavaliers. They've out-Cavaliers the Cavaliers. That's what they've done. And LeBron James is not going to be enough. I'm not doubting LeBron James' greatness, but greatness can only get you about a game. And like I said, if they don't win tonight, they're getting swept. I got this. I got this Celtics. I had Celtics in 6 before the series started. But with this version of the Cavs playing right now, I might have to change my pick to Celtics in 5 or Celtics in the sweep, depending on what happens tonight. Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, like if if they lose tonight, like I said, they're in dire straits and they're in danger of being swept. And more than likely, I think they will be swept if they lose tonight. But if they can win tonight, they're like I said, they're in a better position. But again, I still think they probably end up losing the series in 5, maybe 6 games. However, Colin, you and I both know, because since we've been following the Heat, or if you've been following LeBron James at all, he has this alter ego known as Beast Mode. And when he goes Beast Mode, regardless of who he's playing with, regardless of who is on his team, who he's passing to, is something to behold. And his team wins big when he's in Beast Mode. Okay. And it's different from what we saw with these, what we've been seeing these first 2 games of the series. He's putting up, well, game 1 he didn't play well at all. But game 2, he puts up a triple double, but he had 6 turnovers, right? And he didn't have control of the game, right? He didn't take over the game like we've seen him before. If we see like I won't say a switch, but if we see if somehow LeBron James is able to get even just Kevin Love to play at a notch above what he's used to playing and play at a higher level, and LeBron James continues what he's playing right now, I think they can overcome. I don't know if they'll win the series, but they can definitely push Boston to their limit. But this is all ifs. That's if Kevin Love steps up or somebody else steps up offensively and defensively, right? And makes some plays. But I think the most likely situation, unfortunately, and it's a shame, but LeBron James will be out of the playoffs, and we'll end up seeing probably one of the most boring, we'll probably end up seeing one of the most boring playoff series, unless the Rockets win, because I think Rockets-Celtics will be a much more interesting series. But if it's Celtics-Warriors, I think the Warriors match up against the Celtics, but I mean, obviously the Warriors are the better team, and they are more. They have the better team, the better coach, and they have more experience. But right now, the Cavs are in danger of going home early, and not only going home early, but being swept, especially if they lose tonight.
All right, so Matt's incoming, hopefully. Andre apparently is having a lot of tech difficulties with his Hangouts app, so I know Matt's coming. So Matt's gonna go around the diamond eventually. But until then, the Phillies have won, I believe, and Trey can correct me if I'm wrong, 4 out of 5, and they're back or close to first place in the NL East. Like I said, for those of y'all who don't know or can't think of this one out, Matt is the baseball expert on this podcast. He follows all the sports that are for him, as far as as far as baseball and hockey. So he's definitely the plug on baseball and hockey stuff. But the big thing that happened in baseball outside of the Phillies doing better since the last time Matt proclaimed them dead. I just think Matt needs to stop proclaiming the Phillies dead, because every time he says that, they go on a win streak. So, so the Phillies are winning 4 out of 5. Aaron Nola is really coming into his own, and he's becoming the ace of the him and Jake Arrieta are really becoming the 2 aces of this Phillies pitching lineup. As always with the Phillies, it's the dang bullpen. There's always something with the Philly team. And for the Phillies, it's the bullpen. It's terrible. But the other big thing in baseball is Robinson Cano. Now, a lot of you might not know many baseball players, but you might know Robinson Cano because he is repped by Jay-Z's Rock Nation. And this has nothing to do with Jay-Z. This is more Robinson Cano's fault. But I know a lot of you probably know who Robinson Cano is based on Jay-Z's famous line from one of his albums where he said, "Robinson Cano, you're coming with me," referencing him being Robinson Cano's agent. There's a couple of athletes repped by Jay-Z. This is Kevin, and the two famous ones that you know of are probably Kevin Durant and Robinson Cano. Cano actually just tested positive for steroids. Matt was all up in the group in our group message board talking about it. 80 games. He got 80 games for steroid use or drug use, whatever it was for performance enhancing drugs. And once again, we're talking about performance enhancing drugs in baseball. And he's been suspended for 80 games. Those of you that don't know, in baseball, they play 102 games. So it's like half the season he's going to be missing. And, once again, it's just somebody else using performance enhancing drugs to perform better. And this is a big problem in baseball. It doesn't seem like they'll ever be able to eliminate it. But yeah, Robinson Cano suspended 80 games. Those are the two big baseball stories. So moving right along until Matt gets on here to talk more about it. All right, Trey. So is it a series now in the Western Conference now that the Rockets have won one game? Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, yeah, definitely. I've always thought it was going to be a series. I never expected the Warriors to win the series in 5. I mean, you hear like Stephen A. originally said, I think Stephen A. Smith said like 5 games. I'm like, really, 5 games? I don't see that happening. I mean, the Rockets, like, if the Warriors had like totally just dismantled the Rockets in game 1, and then coming into game 2, you said, if the Rockets lose this game, series is over. That's not the case. We're in a situation where the Rockets, I'm not sure what the Warriors won by in game 1, but I don't think it was, if I remember correctly, it wasn't like a huge blowout. But then coming to game 2, the Rockets like just totally destroyed the Warriors, proving that they have what it takes to beat them and beat them big time. I mean, it was like a 30-point game at one point. So yeah, I mean, definitely we've always had a series, and I mean, I've always felt that the Rockets were the biggest threat, and I'm not talking about, I'm not just saying, oh, well, the Rockets are they're the 1 seed, so obviously they should be able to challenge the Warriors. They're clearly the only team I think that could in the West that could challenge the Warriors. And I mean, I've never felt that this game was going to be 4 or 5 games. It was always going to be a 6 or 7 game series. And whether that's the Rockets or the Warriors, I don't know. But
I'm gonna just tell you, calm down.
I mean, but that's where it's going to go.
It's definitely a series now. Like Trey said, I mean, the Rockets did something I never thought that they do. Mike D'Antoni changed the system big time. Like I said, I read an article about this. Is the series over? It's a series now about the Western Conference finals, and you can check that out on WatsonSports6.com. It's really amazing to see Mike D'Antoni like make adjustments on the fly because, and Trey knows, I make fun of Mike D'Antoni for being the isolation ball coach of the year. That's all he does is isolation ball. The only time he played free ball or real basketball, as I like to call it, where the ball moves a lot, was with the Phoenix Suns, and even that was more isolation ball than anything else. But I was shocked that they played more. They out Warriors the Warriors, man. They moved the ball a lot. It was amazing to see. They got PJ Tucker and the rest of them involved. And really, that was the difference in this series. I mean, in that game, in game 2, they moved the ball around a lot more. They got PJ Tucker. They got Aaron Gordon. They got a lot more. They got a lot more people involved, and that's the difference. I mean, the Warriors they won by 13 points in game 1, and the Cavaliers won by. I mean, not the Cavaliers. The Rockets won by 20 some points. And the main reason they did that is because PJ Tucker couldn't miss. Now, there's going to be a huge difference in Golden State. I mean, let's just be real. PJ Tucker, Aaron Gordon, and the rest of them, even though they're really, really good players, they're not going to be able to go 8 for 9 or hit a lot of these shots that they were hitting in Houston in Golden State. It's not going to happen in the Oracle Arena. Now, I do believe it'll be a series, but I still have the Warriors in 6. I think that Steph Curry will find himself at home, and once he finds himself and gets on a roll, then the series will essentially be, I think, like I said, Houston can squeeze out 2 games, another win, but that'll be about it off the Warriors, especially once Steph Curry gets going. But I think we have this. I think we have that question coming up too. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a series now. I think that, it's more of a series in the Western Conference than it is in the Eastern Conference. And, I'm excited to see who's going to come out of the West, because I believe whoever comes out of the West will definitely probably win the championship, especially if they have to face the Cavaliers. Now, if they have to face the Celtics, it'll be a more, I'm not with Trey. It's not going to be a boring finals. I think it'll be exciting because it'll be something different. It won't be Warriors Cavs, or it will finally have a finals that doesn't involve the Cavaliers or the Warriors. It'll be one or the other, if not both. We'll finally have a finals that doesn't involve the Cavaliers or maybe the Warriors. But I totally think the Warriors will get by them. And plus, everybody gets up for the Celtics being in the finals, or for the Celtics being in the finals, or the Rockets being in the finals. Like an old school franchise between the Rockets and the Celtics will finally make a finals. And we haven't. And how long has it been since we've been able to say the Rockets are in the finals? I know it's been at least 9 years since we've been able, or no, 10 years, because it's 2018, since we've been able to say that the Celtics are in the finals. So I fully expect the Celtics to be in the finals. I don't think the Cavaliers will be able to overcome the Celtics, but that's just me. So moving right along. All right, Trey. Now this is one that would make Matt's blood boil whenever he gets in here. But this is one I got off ESPN. Do you consider the Western Conference Finals the real finals matchup? Trey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, so I kind of mentioned before what I was saying about the Cavs. I don't think a Boston Warriors, a Boston versus Golden State series would be fairly interesting. Be honest with you, I think. Although we talked about Boston and Phillies, our rivalry, but in all reality, and being an objective person, Boston is a very good team. They have some really good young talent. They have a very good coach. However, I think their youth, and even their depth, I don't think would be enough to match up with. Not necessarily. Oh, in a 1-game scenario, yeah, Boston can beat Golden State. In a 7-game series, that's another question, right? And I don't think Boston can. I don't see Boston beating Golden State in a 7-game series, right? I think that would go 5, maybe 6 games, and that's it. I don't see that series going to 7 games. That's a 5 or 6 game series. However, if it's Boston versus Houston, I think that series actually would be. I mean, I think Houston is a very good team. They've got James Harden, Chris Paul, CP3, a lot of good role players, and you got Eric Gordon coming off the bench, and Trevor Ariza, those guys. But I think matchup-wise, I think Boston versus Houston would be a much more interesting series because Boston, we know that Boston can light it up offensively, right? But their strength is their athleticism and their ability to play defense. The Rockets, although they've improved defensively, their strength is offense. So I think in terms of matchup-wise, I would really love to see a Boston versus Houston series, but Boston versus Golden State is not as interesting. So to answer the question, if Houston loses, then yeah, this is kind of like whether it's 5 games, 6 games, 7 games. I think Houston versus Golden State is what we can view it as. What the we'll look at it in hindsight as the real finals matchup because they're really the two best teams in the league. But I think if we end up with seeing Houston and Boston play against each other, I think that'll be just as satisfying of a playoff series, if not maybe more, than Houston and Golden State. Just because Boston is a very exciting team to watch, and so is Houston, and I think they match up very well.
All right. I definitely think that. Well, I'm not going to say it's the real. I don't consider anything, especially in this current format, the real finals, just because it's not the real. It's not the real finals because we're still in this current format of East versus West, and I hope we continue to be in this format because I don't think the NCAA model will work in the NBA. And we talked about this on as that the NCAA model won't work on, or in my opinion, it won't work in the NFL or in the NBA. But that's just me. But no, I made this question. I didn't make this question. Like I said, I got it off ESPN. So Matt, if your blood is boiling based on this question, is the Rockets versus the Warriors the real finals? Blame ESPN. Don't blame me. I think that, like Trey said, this is a good matchup between two of the top 4 teams in our league and obviously in the NBA. And they are the best teams in the NBA. But do I think it's a finals matchup? No. I just think that it's the 2 best teams in the West facing off against each other. And like I said, unfortunately, in this current format, which I hope stays, this is what it is: Rockets versus Warriors in the next to last round before the finals, and it's probably going to go about 6 games. I don't think it'll go 7 between the two teams. I think it'll be in the NBA's best interest to make it 7 games, but I think that this series is only going to go 6. And like I said, I'm picking the Warriors in 6. And I feel like this is a great matchup. This is the best matchup the NBA could ask for in the West because let's be honest, Rockets Warriors is what we wanted to see. We didn't want to see Pelicans, even though that could have happened based on the bracket, but nobody would want to see Pelicans Warriors, Jazz Warriors. People, I definitely would have wanted to see Thunder's Warriors, but the Thunder weren't really that good to make it to the Western Conference Finals. But like I said, I don't think this is the real finals matchup. I think this is a matchup of the 2 best teams in the Western Conference. And it just so happened to be, like I said, Warriors, Rockets. And whoever wins will, like I said earlier, will probably be the champions because it's I know I'm probably kind of contradicting my argument. But like I said earlier, and just to stay consistent, between the Warriors and Rockets, whoever wins this series will be the NBA. I know, Matt. You play to win the game. I shouldn't be saying that. I haven't seen the matchups yet. But let's be real. If it's Rockets Cavaliers or if it's Warriors Cavaliers again, I fully expect the Warriors or the Rockets to sweep the Cavaliers. Now, if it's Warriors Celtics or Rockets Celtics, I expect that to go 6 or 7 games. And I probably have more confidence in the Celtics being able to match up against the Warriors than Trey does. But Warriors versus Celtics, that'll be 6 games. Rockets Celtics, that'll probably be 7 games. And I think that whoever wins this series between the two of them will be the champion. Go ahead, Matt. Matt, are you there?
I'm here, not dead, but here. What are we talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't give you the question. The Western Conference Finals. Do you think that that's the real finals matchup? Now, as I said, I didn't make this question. This came from ESPN. So go ahead.
In the words of Ronald Reagan, there you go again. Coming up, following up with these ESPN questions that you send in this podcast that we all got to answer because full darn well ESPN can't find any questions because it's their ESPN. They don't know what to do with themselves. That's probably they're losing the ratings right now. Probably Fox and CBS and NBC Sports are kicking their butts right now because ESPN come up with these dumb behind questions, and on top of that, you know, coming up and not really educating the real fans out there, understanding the fact that this is not the NBA Finals. No, 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 just no, 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 no. So that's number one. Number two, let's understand. Let's understand this. You're watching a very good series. Can we just recognize and accept it for what it is? A good Western Conference series. You've seen two heavyweights in said conference. Now, what happens in the NBA Finals? We'll get there when we get to the horizon. Excuse me, but right now, just let us accept the fact that what we're watching is a very damn good series, and can we just enjoy ourselves for once in our lives? I mean, I'll admit there are some NBA fans who kind of take this to the head, too far to the head, in my opinion, because look, at the end of the day, you're watching two heavyweight fights. Now, if you got some that will try to compare series. We ain't got time for that. Now, well, I mean, it would have been interesting to see Nola Nola get this far, but we knew that was not going to happen. But still, what you're watching is two juggernauts go at it. You knew this was going to happen. You knew this was bound to happen. Everybody, or the majority of the base, knows this was going to happen. And to sit here and to give me an ESPN like question, right? On this set podcast, it is exhausting. Come on, bruh.
See, there he goes being a diva again. All right, Matt. Fine, fine. You can go with a previous question. Do your goes around the diamond and then tell me if it's a series now in the Western Conference Finals.
It's a series. Though. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is, can we all just sit back and just chill and understand that this is greatness personified right now instead of anywho. Look, me switching sports, right? I'll just in case you've lived under a rock or the fact that you've been watching too much basketball for your own good, we have a suspension. Robinson Cano is out for 80 games due to PED, quote unquote. The reason I say that is because Robinson Cano had to get LASIK surgery for his eye, and the steroid chemical I can't pronounce it right now, which does mask PEDs, whatever. He got caught for that. Now, with Cano's suspension, 80 games, first one. For those of you that don't know, you get 3 strikes and you're banned. First one's 80 games. The second one's 160 games, which is basically the whole season. Third one, you're banned for life. There are casualties, particularly there's casualties, although in the minor leagues. Cano will not, when he comes back from his suspension, he will not be eligible for the postseason because in baseball you have to be on the roster at a certain date to be on the postseason roster, and he will not be on that roster if the Mariners get that far. And which is number one. Two, baseball has the most strictest policy when it comes to anti-doping in all of sports. It is stronger than the Olympics. That's how strong it is. Now, in my humble opinion, I think this needs to be re-examined because there are some. I repeat, there are various instances where there are players who's doing everything they can to go by the book, checking their doctors to make sure that it does not red flag them for taking PEDs, and making sure that they're taking care of themselves and going by policy. However, I talked to Mina on the off here, and of course, well, they shouldn't. I feel, she said her feelings about it and everything else. But the thing is, it is the strongest policy in sports. It is and all thanks. You can thank '98 for that. But in my view, it needs to be reviewed. Tweaked, I wouldn't say changed, maybe tweaked a little bit, but it needs to be reviewed because there are procedures now especially innovative procedures like LASIK surgery and the like, where many chemicals are used and is on that banned substance list. So my thing is, I personally don't know what the policy is word for word, but I think there has to be some exceptions to the rule. And also, even when it comes to like trying to get themselves ready for the season and also just maintaining themselves throughout a 162 game grind, teams, the league itself needs to really not research. Research is not the word. I can't think of the word. Really need to review their policy and tweak it just a little bit enough to allow, okay, if you have this procedure, okay, we'll let this slide. But the rules are the rules. But Robinson Cano, the latest victim of an 80-game suspension.
But you know what I want to hear you know what I want to hear from you before we get to our latest topics and some breaking news that I tagged all y'all in. Let me ask you something because me and Trey already did it. Do you love or hate Lane Johnson's trash talking the Patriots? I don't know if you heard about that, but he went on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast. You already know we're all old school wrestling fans, so you already know Austin 316 says I just whipped your you know what. And she went on Steve Austin's podcast and talked about how the Patriots were trash talking, how Bill Belichick was trash talking Doug Peterson, how Robert Kraft was trash talking Jeffrey Lurie. So, do you love or hate the fact that Lane Johnson just can't let it go? And just so you know, Trey said he loves it. I say I love it. So you go ahead and tell us.
I love it. It's football. You know, trash talking is not just on the field. It can get off the field. It's It's great. It's wonderful, especially among fans. It's the greatest thing. I mean, think about this. The rule, look, anyone that's played football, you know full well it's not just a mental game. It's not just a physical game. It's a psychological grind. Okay, you got trash talkers on that field that's gonna really try to get in your head. Now, I'm smiling ear to ear right now because of how I would say egregious it is. But I'm smiling ear to ear because it's like, you know what? It's the Patriots. I would have done the same thing. I would have done the same exact thing. You know. And plus, now you're the champ. You can say what you want to say at this point. I mean, honestly, you have as a Super Bowl champion, you have every right to say what the hell you want to say because you got the hardware, you got the big hardware, you got the most recent Vincent Lombardi trophy in your trophy case right now. You have every right to say what the hell you want to say. Now, Lane Johnson is known for talking smack, and you know what? If he's he's one of those guys that will tell you straight up what's on his mind. So I'm all for it. In fact, he can talk as much trash as you want because, like I said, this man deserves it. This man is the champ. He is the king, and he can say whatever the heck he wants to say. Now, if anyone got a problem with that, you you know where to find us. We're not hard to find. You know the season starts in September, and the 16-game sprint starts all over again. And now the target's on our backs. Now it's like we welcome it. It's a look to me. It's a sign of the fact that we are welcoming the fact that there's a target on our back, and we're okay with it. Give us your best shot. Enough said.
All right, so our next question. Reaction to the Supreme Court legalizes sports gambling. Go ahead. We'll start with Trey. Go ahead, Trey. Trey, you there? Oh, he might be gone. Go ahead, Matt.
While Trey's trying to find himself, um, I had to think about this a lot when it comes to legalizing sports gambling. I'm mixed. I'm kind of mixed right now because I'm kind of mixed right now because of how the game, not the game, how you know, um, it can bring in revenue for many many excuse me many municipalities and states that do need the money. That's fine. However, as far as you know, professional, I get it. I mean, professional, especially football, it is fine. But my question is, do the these leagues get any revenue from it, or any percentage of the revenue? That's where my thinking is. I mean, do the leagues get the revenue for it, or any type of revenue? And also, does it limit? I think it should be limited to just professional sports. College, I I seriously think it should not be lumped into sports betting because if you my thing is this: if you're going to open it up to college, then you need to pay the players and treat college sports differently. But since it is amateurism, it should not be lumped into sports betting. That's where my biggest concern is. I mean, it does open up an avenue in the gambling world. You know, parlay bet and everything else. I know they do it in Delaware and now parts of Jersey. But as far as sports gambling, my biggest concern is college because if that's included, then you should pay the players. That's where my biggest concern is, even when it comes to this issue.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I'm kind of mixed on it myself. Mostly I'm mixed on it not just because of the concern as far as what he just said as far as with college sports, but my main concern is always on throwing the games. Now Matt knows because he follows baseball. He knows that Pete Rose is banned from baseball because they've accused him of throwing games. Plus, especially in baseball, you've had a lot of trouble with this as far as people throwing games or making games more competitive than they should be because of gambling and different things like that. And there's also basketball is not immune either because you had the Tim Donaghy situation and everything else. Now, like I said, I'm with Matt. I think that I'm for people getting money. And even though, I'm not a fan of gambling, I can understand that, people lose a lot. And let me just make my stance clear as to why I'm against gambling. I'm against gambling because I think a lot of people do a lot of crazy things in order to gamble and make money and lose a lot of money, lose housing. I'm just against gambling because of how addictive it is to gamble. Let me just make that stance clear. But if you like to gamble, you like this podcast, thank you for the support and know that do you. But I'm like Matt, like my concern is with college. I also want to know like what are the measures that are going to be taken to make sure no players are gambling on the games. Nobody's going to be throwing games to make money. Nobody's going to be tempted to throw games because you have all these big boosters that gamble a lot and they're able to get to, not that he would, but let's just say, just for example and argument's sake, they're able to get to a LeBron James, a Steph Curry, a Draymond Green, a Kevin Durant, and influence them to throw the games. What's the protections that these leagues have to maintain, and it sounds cliche, but to maintain the integrity of the game? Because the games need to be protected. Like, I need to know that I'm watching something real. I need to know that, when I'm watching Carson Wentz and them play, when I'm watching the Eagles play, that nobody on my team is trying to throw the game to make money off the game. You know what I mean? Or playing extra hard and trying to get the spread to make money off the game because they bet for the spread. You know what I mean? So, and I'm like Matt, pay the players. I think college basketball is included in this. And I'm with Matt. If you're going to do that, you better pay the players. And my main thing is basically maintaining the integrity of the game, especially for somebody that writes about these games, writes articles on these games, is going to be making a living off these games. I need to make sure that these games I want them to be able to make sure that these games are protected and that the integrity of the game is maintained. And I don't think, and I know the Supreme Court only measures the legality of it, but I think that there should be, especially with this, something under the Supreme Court, like a court of sports, where a lot of these things can be measured, where you can measure the fact that, it's not just the legality of it, but we're concerned about maintaining the integrity of the game. Because like I've said, we've had the Pete Roses of the world, and I know that can go on a diatribe about that in and of itself. You've had the Black Sox or whoever it was that bet on games and got suspended. You've had it in college sports. You've had
it was the 1919 Black Sox scandal.
Yeah. Okay, so I got it right. All right, the Black Sox. You've had the Black Sox, and I mean, like I said, it has happened a lot in baseball, but basketball is not immune, especially with Tim Donaghy. Football is not immune. They just haven't been caught yet. And college sports are definitely not immune either. So, like I said, I just need to make sure the integrity of the game is maintained, and they need to do what they need to do to protect that. And like I said, I brought up Pete Rose. I know Matt could go on a diatribe about that. I know a lot of you could go on a diatribe about that because a lot of you have strong opinions about Pete Rose. So we want to make sure that there's not any more Pete Rose scandals, any more Black Sox scandals in any of the leagues. So I definitely think that I'm mixed about it being legal, and I just want these leagues to be protected, and I want the integrity of the game to be protected. Matt, you got anything else to add?
Negative.
All right. So moving right along, and then we'll answer our last two questions, and then we'll get to some breaking news that just happened. And Matt knows what I'm talking about because I tagged him in it on Facebook. So Matt, do you think Carson Wentz will be ready by week 1? And I guess another way to ask this question is, do you want Carson Wentz to be ready by week 1? Go ahead, Matt.
I'm not sure about me wanting him to be ready by week 1, but a knee injury like that, right, should not be rushed. If he is ready, and the fact that he can not just do drills and do football stuff, but actually go through a game, pretty much a game to where as though he feels 100% comfortable with that knee, then who are we to stop him? Who are we to say he can't do it? But if the Eagles feel and him feels that, you know what, he's good to go for week 1, then by all means go for it. Because look at this. Remember, we have a great insurance policy in number 9. A wonderful insurance policy in number 9. The Super Bowl MVP in number 9. Okay, so for the most part, I mean, I can understand for some people, they want to see Nick Foles start a game before the season starts, but he was doing a backup's job. He was doing his job, and that's one ball game. So, but let's not forget, Carson Wentz is the quarterback of now. He is the franchise quarterback, and you need your franchise quarterback back on that field. Now, remember, we know, and we've been knew this. If God forbid anything happens to Carson again, we have a Super Bowl MVP backup quarterback in Nick Foles that can and will do the job. We have seen this. We know this. We are secure. I know I am secure in the fact that Nick can do the job. But for Carson Wentz's sake, if he feels that he is ready for week 1 and can handle not just the football drills, but can take the beating of a game, then who are we as Americans to judge? Go for it. So my take is simply, if that knee holds up in game situations, in a real live game situation, then go for it.
I'm of the mindset that it's better. I agree with Matt, but I'm also of the mindset that it's better to be cautious, be careful and cautious than to rush anything. So for Carson Wentz, listen, bro. As I've said on this podcast before, we're expecting you to last just as long, if not longer, than Donovan McNabb lasted. So that is 10 to 12, 10 to 13 years as the franchise quarterback here. So I'm expecting you to play until you're anywhere between 35 to 38 years old as the Eagles quarterback. So I'm going to need you to calm it down. I know you want to work hard. You're motivated because you're seeing Jordan Hicks, Darren Sproles, and Jason Peters work and get back coming off their ACL injuries, and Chris Maragos. But listen, man, you got that God power. You're a Christian. Be guided. Don't just guide yourself into playing earlier than you need to. Like, listen, if you're ready, if you're cleared to play, Coach Peterson's comfortable with you playing, fine, play. But, my brother, you don't need to rush it back. I mean, everybody knows that you are 88 to 90% responsible for the reason why there's a Lombardi trophy in Lincoln Financial Field. We understand that you were the one that made the leap, and you paved the way for Nick Foles to be able to do something that a lot of backup quarterbacks don't do and win the Super Bowl. We understand that, man. But listen, your spot is secure. I don't know how many more times the Eagles have to be in public and say Carson Wentz is our guy to make you secure. And I'm not saying you're insecure, because you said that you're great friends with Nick Foles, that you have no problem with Nick, but I just don't want you rushing back, and the reason you're rushing back is for the wrong reasons. I don't want insecurity, because let's be real, it's football. Everybody gets insecure. I understand that you don't want to be Drew Bledsoe. I understand that. But my brother, just take your time, man. If you're ready by week 3, week 4, you're still the franchise quarterback, man. Nick Foles is not taking your spot. You are still the franchise quarterback. That's why we didn't trade him, because we know you most likely won't be ready. I know you're giving interviews and you're saying you will be ready, but I just want you to be cautious. I want you to be cautious and careful. Slow and steady wins the race, man.
See, here's the thing. I understand you throwing caution to the wind. I get that. I mean, you want to be super duper. This is not the Sixers, okay? This is the Eagles, okay? I understand you want to protect your investment. However, like I said, if the man can withhold and withstand constant beating and the constant grind of an NFL game, and can withhold it by week 1, that's why we have the preseason, can withhold it by week 1, I don't see why not. Why not go for it?
Matt, you know that even if he's ready, they will not let him play in any preseason game. You already know that. You already know that. I do not expect Carson Wentz to play in any preseason games this year. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't expect him to play in any preseason games this year. I barely expect Nick Foles to play in any preseason games this year, because they can't hold them out from preseason games. So, like I said,
you need to work though. You need to work. You need the reps, the game reps. You can't replicate that in practice.
No, and I fully understand that. But you know, like I said, I mean, they held them out. I don't think he played in the preseason last year either. I think he only played like 2 preseason games, if I'm not mistaken. And I want him to play, but I also don't want him to rush back. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know it's football. I know it's not the Philadelphia 76ers. I understand that. But if you listen to Doug Peterson, you listen to Jeff Lurie, they have basically said, we're not going to let him play unless he's ready. And if he wants to be ready by week 1, he's going to have to do a lot of work. And I don't think that work includes preseason games. I really don't. Maybe one, if that. But I want him to be ready. Like, I want him there. I want him to get his ring. I want him to go throw like 8 touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons when we play them in early September. I want him to be ready. Don't get me wrong. I want him to be ready. But what I also want is for him to, while he's doing that, and I definitely think he'll be ready. But while he's doing that, I want him to change his playing style. I want him to understand that it's okay. And I've said this on this podcast before, that it's okay to slide. That it's okay to throw away to protect the investment. Because let's be real, even though I love the man, he got that knee injury doing something unnecessary. And I love the man.
He was going for a touchdown, though.
I understand that. And listen, I've been on this podcast and I've said this. It's hard for me to say that he was doing something unnecessary. You know that. I was one of the people saying, go for it. You know that. You know it's hard for me to say that, but hindsight is 2020. You know that. You know it's hard.
If you would do the same thing again, I would have been all for it darn self. But in that position, that's the risk you take. You know this. That's the risk you take.
I do know that's the risk you take. And that's why I said I hope he's ready by week 1. And I hope, I've said this before a couple weeks ago, I'll say it again. I want him to be ready by week 1. Don't misunderstand my caution for not wanting him to be ready. Listen, I'm a selfish fan, just like it. Listen, it's a better story for me to write on Watson Sports Takes, on Wildfire Radio Sports, or on whichever platform I choose to put it on. It's a better story for me if he starts week 1 because it's a comeback year. It's a better story for them to get their rings and get their number 1 franchise quarterback back and win the game. They'll be winning on 3 fronts. But like I said on this podcast before, I also don't want to write a story like at the end of the season or whenever it happens that Carson Wentz injured his knee again and he might not be able to play. And there goes Howie Roseman's genius right there. I don't want to write that story. I'm not saying it will happen. But like I said, I'm with you. I want him to be ready. I want him to go through the drills. I want him to be able to go through these scrimmages. I want to see him take a hit, not necessarily to his knee, but I want to see him take hits, get back up, throw the ball. I want to see all that. I want to see the old Carson Wentz. But I doubt that I'm going to see him now after this knee injury. I doubt I'm going to see the guy that's about to go to the ground and throwing a 50-yard pass to Nelson Aguilar this year. I doubt I'll see that this year.
I think you will. I really think you will. Again, his playing ability is top notch. I mean,
it is. I agree.
I have to stop and tell these people around this area, which, oh, by the way, they are in love with Dak Prescott because he is the hometown hero here. But I have to you know what? I respect the man. I respect Dak Prescott. He's a very good quarterback, but Carson is better. Carson is a better quarterback. I am sorry. I don't like the word better, but yes, Carson Wentz is the better quarterback. And on top of that, I think you will see Carson Wentz be better this year than he was last year, especially with his escapability.
And I totally agree, and I want him. I just want to be cautious because I don't want Eagles Twitter blowing me up or Eagles Facebook. I want him to be ready. I want my Carson Wentz to be ready. I like Carson Wentz. Love him like a brother. He's a Christian, so I love him even more. I want him to be ready. I really do. I don't want nobody saying, "Oh, Kylan don't want him ready." Kylan wants Nick Foles to take Carson Wentz's job. Don't want that. Just want them to be cautious. And if he misses a game against the Atlanta Falcons to be able to play for the next 10 to 13 years, I'm all for it. That's all I'm saying.
Look, I understand. I understand and I get it. Particularly, you know Philly fans. You know the fact that, they're super cautious, super duper cautious, and we've been here before. We've been here before. We've seen it in Donovan McNabb. We've been here before. We've seen it with the Sixers holding out in redshirting players. We've seen this before with the Phillies trying to rebuild their farm system, and here we are now. We've seen this before, so I am not worried. I am not concerned. I think he will be there by week 1, if not week 2. He's going to be there. He will play a preseason game or 2 in Philadelphia. Do not worry about it. We are fine. We will be okay.
And I agree. And like I said, I'm going to keep saying it. This is my 3rd time saying it because this is the first time Matt's hearing it. But Lane Johnson and any Eagles player has an open invitation to come on here. Turn this medium to small podcast into a large podcast. Come on here and talk your trash. Be interviewed. Talk about the Patriots. Whatever. I'm all for it. I'm all for the trash talk. But moving right along to our last thing. All right, Matt. What should the 76ers do, or who should they take with the 10th pick in the NBA draft coming up in 2 to 3 weeks? Go ahead, Matt.
What? All right. First of all, the fact that we're in the lottery. Thank you, Sam Hinkie. You are a genius. Thank you. Number one. As far as players is concerned, I don't have a name right now. But if it's anything, the Sixers need out of the first round, you need a slash, not a slasher. You need pretty much a two guard. That's what you need, a two guard. You already have a player in you already have the point guard position. You already got the five. You already got pretty much a four. So I know we all want uh Covington out of here, but the Sixers are pretty much invested in him. So
Preach. Get him out of here. First play out of here. Kawhi Leonard. Preach. First play out of
I mean, look, a lot of people want Covington out of here. All right, before I go any further, I gotta say this right now to the NBA fans who don't understand how trade works. No, yes, I don't mind if you trade Covington. I don't mind it, but we're not trading Saric. If you're thinking that the Sixers should trade Saric, you need to be shot in the foot because if you have not paid any attention to what Saric has done, what Bellinelli has done, you something is terribly wrong with you. Terribly wrong with you. Now, when we know we're not going to get Covington for Leonard straight up, that's not going to happen. It's the Spurs we're talking here. Now, I'll give you Covington another and one or two bench players, Rashawn Holmes or something like that. But no, I get it. But no, number one. But yes, Covington should be on the first plane out of here. Though I like him a little bit, but he's streaky. The Sixers need basically a swing man, a two and a three. That's what the Sixers need, a swing man, primarily in the two guard position, but it's physical. It's very physical with the ball. That's what the Sixers need. They need more physicality and very defensive. The team's already defensive minded. They're one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA during the course of the regular season. But the Sixers do need a two guard or a swing man between the two and the three. That's what the Sixers need, and also that can cut, get to the lane and create fouls and get to the free throw line. Sixers need that. Honestly, if the Sixers can re-sign JJ Redick, I'm all for it. I am all for it. But that's what the Sixers need in the draft, and without saying any names.
Well, that's what I'm here for as one of the basketball experts on this podcast, the college basketball experts. I've got the names that Matt probably is looking for. So the 76ers, I agree with Matt. They need a two guard / point guard because, as you all know, my nickname now because of Matt and Andre is Pop Pop. Because as y'all know, I am for putting Ben Simmons where he belongs. He's dang near 7 foot. He needs to be in a small forward and occasionally play point guard.
I gotta stop you there. I'm sorry. I've held out as long as I could. But Ben Simmons got some pretty good ball handling skills. You have to admit this. And he has good court vision. Now, you can put him in the mold of Magic Johnson, okay? Magic Johnson. But once he creates a shot, I'm sorry. I try to hold him as much as I can. You can put him at the 4, but you can put him as high as a 3, no more. But I'm sorry. He has good court vision. You have to admit this. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
No, listen, I'm not saying he need to be down there because listen, he's a great passer. He has great basketball IQ. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that because I need him on the LeBron Jameses, the Kevin Durant's of the world. I don't need him on and the Jason Tatums of the world. I don't need him. I don't need him on Terry Rozier because he's playing point guard. I want him there purely for defensive reasons. But I got the names that the Sixers should take. The Sixers need to take the Villanova product, Mikal Bridges. He matches everything that you just said. He's a better version of Rocco. He plays very good defense and has a consistent 3-point shot and can play the small forward or the power forward. But he's good. That we need Michael Porter Jr. I know a lot of people that listen to this and watch college basketball and be like, why do you want a guy who had a bad back? Let me tell you something. The Sixers have an affinity, and Matt knows this, and it's very infuriating for players that are injured during most of their college career or a good majority of it. You know, Joel Embiid was injured during his college career. Nerlens Noel, Ben Simmons. If you notice a pattern here, all of these were top picks by the 76ers, and they all had injury problems, besides one Jahlil Okafor, who was fully healthy when the Sixers drafted. But so I have Mikal Bridges. He matches everything that Matt just said. I have that. Michael Porter Jr., he also has a silky smooth jump shot, something that Ben Simmons doesn't have, and he can play the 2 guard too, or the small forward, right? There you go. And then my reach pick as a top 10 pick for the Sixers, somebody who can also play point guard and be able to move Markelle Fultz to shooting guard, which I think he belongs at, and have JJ Redick come off the bench. Trae Young. I think that the Sixers can get Trae Young with the 10th pick. He can be a point guard. He has good IQ as well. Ben Simmons can help him become a better passer, more aggressive.
I don't think Trae Young will be there at 10. I really don't think so.
I don't think so either. But hey, you never know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For Oklahoma, Trae Young's not going to be there. He's not. He's going to be like a first top 5 pick. He's not going to be there at 10.
Okay, well, like I say, it's a reach. I just got names for you. This is who I think the Sixers should take if they're there. I know the first 2 I named will be there. I know Bridges and I know Michael Porter Jr. will be there. But Trae Young, if he's there, listen, this is my great scenario for the Sixers. Everybody takes what they need, and when the Sixers pick at 10, or if they trade up for a higher pick, because somebody said whoever's got the 4th pick are saying they're open for business. So if the Sixers trade and get up to the top 4, then I know that they're definitely taking Trae Young. But if they stay at 10, I think that they're either going to take Bridges or Michael Porter. And they can't go wrong with either pick. The only knock on Porter is he's more of an offensive player, which is, a lot of people would say, a lot of people that don't watch Sixers basketball say we got a bunch of one-dimensional players. But I think the Sixers would do well either way. I think if you're going to make me pick one, I think Michael Porter Jr. is a little bit more of a better player than Mikal Bridges, but the more complete player is Mikal Bridges. And they can't go wrong either way picking the Villanova product. But I think that the Sixers, for what they need, a slasher, an offensive player who can consistently play defense. Like, okay, if they pick Mikal Bridges over Porter, it's purely because they want a defensive specialist, somebody like Rocco who can shoot, right? And that'll be Mikal Bridges. But if they want an offensive player, a third option, a third or fourth scoring option, depending on what happens with Markelle Fultz. And just to be clear, because I know Matt said this before, not today, but I think a lot of the Sixers' issues will be worked out once they move Markelle Fultz, or Markelle Fultz ascends and either becomes a shooting guard and a point guard for the Sixers. Once that happens, then a lot of these problems that the Sixers have will be removed. But until then, they definitely either need Michael Porter Jr. or Mikal Bridges. So yeah, so that's who they should take, Michael Porter Jr. or Mikal Bridges. And then moving right along to our last topic. So Matt, your reaction and your thoughts about Johnny Manziel going to play in the CFL. I know it's breaking news. I know you probably haven't gotten your thoughts right. I just tagged you with it. But go ahead.
Nah, it's funny. While y'all were yapping, I was looking through my Facebook feed and I did see that. Well, it's a start. Well, it's a start in the right direction. Now, as far as getting his football life back together, now, as far as him making a return to the NFL, that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. We for what we've seen, Johnny Football can play. Now, we all can admit the fact that pretty much all parties all parties that partake in this Johnny Manziel business, had no business taking part of it in the first place. I'm looking at you, Cleveland. You knew you messed up. You knew the fact that the coach didn't want Manziel, but you brought him here. You brought him there anyway. So we putting this on you particularly, because Cleveland was not a good place for him anyway. Try Dallas, but for him to be here in the CFL, it's a start. It is a start, in any direction. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how he holds up there, how well he does there. But hopefully, a scout or someone can look at him and see what's going on here. Now, I know some of you that are listening to this podcast right now are thinking to yourselves, well, if Johnny Football is in the CFL, what's up with Colin Kaepernick? Now, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. You know the game. You know the game. You know what's going on. Now, it's up to him whether he wants to take that same route to the CFL or not. But back to the topic at hand, is how well he plays may get him back in a pretty much good graces in the NFL somewhere, as long as he maintain his sobriety, clean living, and the like. So should be fun to watch, particularly in the Canadian Football League, or as I call it, the minor leagues in the NFL.
Listen, I agree with Matt. I definitely am for him getting a second chance. He probably was not going to get one in the NFL, so I definitely think that him going to the CFL would be better for him career wise and better for him life wise too, because there's less pressure on him. And now, at least in the CFL, his screw ups won't be magnified, because with Johnny Manziel, I feel like he rightfully so, but some of his screw ups were magnified and made a bigger deal of than needed to be made. And it really messed up his life. And I think this is what happens when you're a star in college football. And I feel like this happened to Tim Tebow too. Like, a lot of what they did was magnified to like unholy limits. And it caused people to be tired of them. Because I know at one point I got tired of Johnny Manziel. I know I've expressed this on this podcast before. It's nothing that he did, but it's just I was tired of him, and because of everything that he was doing and how people like Skip Bayless and all these other people just made him seem like a god of football, and I just couldn't see it. And there was just so much wrong. It wasn't anything he did, but it was just everything that he did was magnified. And I feel like it's better for him to start in the CFL where the pressure won't be as high on him, and he can have a chance to really, really build his brand. You know what I mean? Like, do some brand building and not just come into the NFL, have all this pressure on him, have people on TV saying, will Johnny Manziel succeed? Will Johnny Manziel fail? Will this be his last chance in the NFL? Stuff like that. I feel like in the CFL, he can build up his brand and an opportunity to come back into the NFL. You know, and I'm excited for him. Congratulations, Johnny Manziel, and I hope that, you know, eventually you'll get back into the NFL because as a backup quarterback, not as a starting quarterback. But I feel everybody deserves a second chance, and I wish that the NFL would give that to Colin Kaepernick. But, you know, like Matt said, we're not back to the topic ahead. I'm excited for Johnny Manziel, and I really, really hope that he does well and he doesn't squander the second chance. Because he has a lot of talent, and it's just was squandered because he believed his own hype. And I think that's the worst thing for an athlete. I think that's what happened to RG3 too. Like, it's the worst possible thing to happen to an athlete is to believe your own hype. And in the CFL, he has a chance, like I said, to build his brand back up. All right, so that wraps up our show for today. I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Trey for coming out. And on this, with our schedule changing a little bit because of different things going on. Next weekend will be Memorial Day. I haven't decided if we're going to be on Friday or Saturday, just based on the holiday. I want us to enjoy our holiday, but like I said, I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Trey. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for viewing. Definitely have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the semi-nice weather. Congrats to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry on their wedding. Congrats to them. Congrats to all the graduates of the class of 2018 as well. I know we've had different graduations. Like my brother graduated last weekend, so that's why we had to have the podcast on a Friday last week. So yeah, congrats to everybody. Congrats. Like I said, keep it fresh. This is the Crossover Podcast where the conversations are hot and the takes are even hotter. Enjoy your weekend. Deuces.